So we've seen tremendous progress in treating metastatic urothelial cancer patients over the last few years. And currently the standard is that the first line treatment for metastatic or advanced urothelial cancer patients still remains platinum-based chemotherapy, either with gemcitabine and cisplatin or gemcitabine and carboplatin. And for patients who are cisplatin ineligible, we have the option to use immunotherapy if they have high PD-L1 levels in their tumors, or carboplatin if they do not have high PD-L1 expression. And for patients who are not eligible for carboplatin, immunotherapy can be used as first line. But really, chemotherapy still remains a backbone in the first line setting. And as far as subsequent line settings go, we've again seen remarkable progress. Immunotherapy is approved for patients who progress after platinum use. We have new drug approvals like enfortumab vedotin, which was approved last year, as well as FGFR3 inhibitor erdafitinib for patients with qualifying mutations in the FGFR. So we really are making a lot of progress in how we treat advanced urothelial cancer patients.
So unfortunately, no screening tests are generally recommended for people with average risk of bladder cancer. But of course, we're all aware of patients coming into medical attention because of hematuria, and that's one of the most common manifestations for patients. And that leads to further workup and diagnosis in terms of cystoscopy. So they undergo TURBT. And of course, certain urinary tumor markers have also been used beyond cytology. Now, in terms of risk factors in general for bladder cancer, it includes things like smoking. So for instance, workplace exposure in industries that carry high risk of bladder cancer. That includes folks who work in the industry of rubber, leather, textiles, paint products, certain herbals or drugs, for instance, medicines that are used for diabetes have been linked to bladder cancer, and certainly other chemicals, for instance, like arsenic in water.
We are currently not using genetic and molecular characteristics to guide treatment decisions, but it's a very important area of research. In the neoadjuvant setting, the molecular subtyping has shown that patients may respond differently to neoadjuvant chemotherapy depending on the molecular subtype. However, it is not a standard of care approach. And this is what we are actively studying as a part of our Department of Defense grant. Hopefully in the future, we will have comprehensive genetic and molecular biomarkers to guide therapy besides using PD-L1 expression.
PD-L1 expression in metastatic urothelial cancer can really be answered and determined by varying ways. Unfortunately, in the field, PD-L1 testing is not currently uniformly defined in urothelial cancers. So there's a lot of assays and platforms that are being used. It really varies on what tests you use, what study you're looking at, whether or not you're looking at the tumor cell or the immune cell. And there are differences in the quantification thresholds, for PD-L1 expression. But in general, tumor cells or tumor infiltrating immune cells positivity in the primary tumor probably ranges between 32 to 66%, a ballpark. Again, it varies between studies and between assays that have been used.